Subscribe to the official Pick Rich's Brain podcast at richredmond.com/podcasts.
What's up, everybody? Rich Redmond here. Hey, on this episode of Pick Rich's Brain, we've got my great buddy Jim McCarthy, and we're going to be talking about all things sales, leadership, and pricing for what you do.
Drummer, percussionist, author, composer, songwriter, producer, professional speaker, actor, Rich Redmond has left his mark on thousands of songs, including over 21 number one hits, over 30 years of been there, done that, wisdom and knowledge in the Nashville music business. This is Pick Rich's Brain.
Okay, so Jim also edits these things, which is great. And so if you ever see the intro to this web series, he put together the most incredible intro
ever.
I feel like a superhero. Composer, wow. Actor, entrepreneur. He did a great job because he's a professional voiceover artist. So, everybody, I would like to officially invite you to episode 6 of Pick Rich's Brain, live from Nashville, Tennessee, Crash Studios. Today, my guest is my dear friend, Jim McCarthy. Jim!
Thanks for having me on.
Dude, thank you for coming here.
I feel like I'm here all the time.
Yeah, you're here all the time, but you're by...
I'm always over there.
If you've tuned into the first 5 episodes of this podcast web series, you've heard this voice of reason off camera, and he usually fields the questions that come in via the hashtag Pick Rich's Brain, and you also ask great questions like, Rich, don't forget about this, don't forget to be a promosexual,
right? Talk
about your beater, talk about your book, talk about your sticks. So thank you. But today the focus is on Jim, because Jim's got tons of great advice, because Jim's from Connecticut, so we have that commonality. What do we call us? Connecticut?
Connecticutians.
Something like that. Hey, and so are we going to give a shout out to Tipping Chair Tavern?
Yes, Tipping Chair Tavern, which I actually do a lot of work for as well. If you go to their restaurant up in Southington, you'll hear my voice on the PA. Yeah,
we're calling it... what do you call it? Voice imaging?
Restaurant imaging.
Which is a new thing. So if you're a restaurateur out there, or if you are an outside-of-the-box thinker, what's great about Jim is that I just did a one-man show up at the Tipping Chair Tavern. Our good buddy Jeff owns it. He's really outside-the-box thinker. The menu's fantastic. Miss Connecticut put together a health food menu on it. You can have the bar food. You can have the fried pickles. You can have their award-winning wings. You can see live music 7 nights a week. But you can also eat healthy if you want, which I did. I had I had chicken and some veggies. It was great. I didn't even know I was eating healthy. Of course, I washed it down with 2 or 3 glasses of wine, like this.
And it's funny because you...
Why? And cheers to you, brother.
To you.
I don't know how you do it all. You're a family man, 3 kids.
You just do.
Gorgeous wife.
She is gorgeous.
You guys are happily married.
She better be watching this.
Cheers.
Yes.
People are like, why is Rich drinking wine with a silly straw? Because, as we all know, if you're in my inner circle, you know that in my half point in my life, I'm working on some new things. One of which is how I'd like to do more hosting. Hosts have to have white teeth. So I got my teeth whitened. I'm doing this regularly, 4 times a year.
That's
and they
wine.
say, drink the coffee and the wine out of a straw. So I look like an ass, but it's...
Well, I had wine last night.
I'm getting used to it.
And every night I have wine, it's like purple teeth.
I mean, when in Rome, I'm not going to do that at the Red Door. Can I get a straw?
No.
I'm not going to do that.
That's just going to look weird.
It's going to look weird. But I'm in the privacy of my own home, and here we go. I'm in the privacy of my own home, televising to the world.
So the funny thing about the Tipping Chair Tavern, speaking of relationships with Crash, commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, hunger.
That old thing, yeah.
That old thing. The relationship there was Jeff Vitti, who was in a band with my brother. So,
and your brother, have I met him yet?
No.
Killer piano player.
He's a killer piano player.
He's a Billy Joel tribute band, right?
Journey tribute band.
Journey
tribute band and Bob Seger up in Detroit area. And he basically has been playing the keys for probably 40 years. And he and Jeff were in a high school cover band, and we kind of all went our separate ways after that. And about 10, 15 years down the road, Jeff comes calling and says, hey, I hear you do voiceover. I do. And I did a couple of odds and ends things with him, and lo and behold, here we are 20, 25 years later. Yeah,
so it's perfect. So instead of having an MC introduce the band or the multiple bands per night, 7 nights a week, Jim introduces the band. So when I did my one-man show up at the Tipping Chair tavern, it was like, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage. From Jim introduced me. So it was a really, really cool, comfortable thing. But I really want to give you the spotlight. I know that you have a thing. I mean, we could talk about your history. We could talk about your relationship with the drums. You are a drummer. You still have a drum set.
I do.
Your son is playing the drums.
He is drumming.
Which is really, really cool. He plays Hot for Teacher. He went for broke. He started out trying to cover Hot for Teacher and Rosanna. So if you aren't a drummer and you're listening, those are some of the most iconic and difficult drum parts in the world to handle.
He kind of bypassed the boom schmack and went right for the porcaro.
Everyone goes for the difficult stuff, and you will always come back to the boom schmack.
Yeah,
because it's what makes people laugh and dance and cry and all that.
I'm obsessively watching the comments, guys.
Oh yeah, there are comments going now. I'm hoping that you can see that far because I sure as hell can.
I can. I'm keeping an eye on it because that's typically what I do. I'm always behind the comment. I'm watching what you guys write all the time and making sure that we address your questions. But the bottom line with what we're talking about today is the fact that I've always had this thing about sales.
Yes,
and
it is your strength. I mean, that is like if you were going to be a motivational speaker, that would be your tie-in: sales, leadership, and marketing.
And I think ideation and encouragement for people.
Yes,
which you and I have had a lot of conversations over the years regarding where you ought to go with your personal brand and how that should be fleshed out. And don't mind me, just so as we're rolling here, you see this thing, I'm monitoring sound.
He's listening to the ball game.
I'm monitoring the sound coming out of our little recorder, so it's the production guy in me. But just a brief background, radio for 20 years, that's why I'm kind of been always like an audiophile. Yeah. Then I got into video, that's how Rich and I met, and it just kind of went from there.
You were at Jack FM.
Jack FM here in Nashville, Mix 92.9. I was in Las Vegas for 4 years doing CBS radio work, a lot of voiceover and production work, won several awards doing that, all through those years.
And you had a side jaunt as a high-end car salesman.
I did that after radio. I wanted to find a way to, make a little bit better money for the family and everything. And, it was one of those things, I tell people this all the time. I knew how to sell, but then I really knew how to sell once I got into the car business, if that makes sense. I thought I knew how to sell. I could sell my video products, my voiceover products, just by getting in front of a person and just explaining it and everything. But I didn't adapt a process for sales until I started selling. So
what can a creative person? This is also something that you focus on quite a bit. Matter of fact, you have been a guest speaker at my 4th annual Drummers Weekend in Nashville. We've actually had 4 of these folks. We're actually going to be doing our 5th annual Drummers Weekend in Nashville, November 3 through 5, and you're going to come speak, and you're calling it Sales for Creatives. Sales for
Creatives. It's not the sexiest title, but give me time.
It could be Business for Creatives.
It could be,
or it's better than Sales for Dummies because creatives we're in fashion. It's all the rage. Being monetizing your creativity, which is very difficult because some people don't know how to use both sides of their brain,
right?
Or they have no interest.
Well, a lot of it comes down to I have a hierarchy of how people ought to see themselves in business. Being that the entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well.
That's a tongue twister, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. Is very alive and well, and a lot of the things that are coming down the pike, as you know, I'm a big fan of Vaynerchuk, and you bust my balls over it all the time.
Guys, Jim Hart's Gary Vaynerchuk. Check it out. There's a book called Crush It. Matter of fact, our friend Tori, we're taking a detour, but our friend Tori McDonald, who's also almost kind of like manages my good buddy Sarah Cardeal on the East Coast. Sarah's probably watching because, she's like a little sister, but a student.
I met her at the camp.
At the camp. One of her questions was, how do you use social media to leverage a personal brand?
You basically do it every day. You constantly tell a story as much as you possibly can every day, much like how you're doing, depending on what kind of demo you want to reach. Obviously, Snapchat's a younger demo. Younger than that would be like where my kids are living and Musically and stuff like that.
I haven't touched that.
But it's funny because being a musician and it being Musically, it would make sense, and you could start influencing those 6 to 12-year-olds that are doing that kind of stuff all the time and getting them. Because you remember when you were 8 years old, you were idolizing the guys who were in their 30s, 40s.
Yeah, and then Peter Criss from Kiss, who knows how old he was in 1970.
So those kids aren't allowed to have a Facebook account yet, probably. My kids don't have one yet, but they have Musical.ly accounts, and they just do their little things on it and everything. And then they move up to the Snapchat. Snapchat's that next demo, Instagram, and then the Facebook. Facebook has got people that are 35 to 55, 60, the money demos, and that's why Facebook's one of the most underpriced advertising platforms out there right now. But to build a personal brand, you just tell your story on it and you document over create, which is a Vaynerchuk thing, and he's absolutely right. The reason why I liked Vaynerchuk.
Well, you like Vaynerchuk, and you like Grant Cardone, and we like Tony Robbins. I mean, there's like kind of pillars, these go-to pillars of people that have used social media to their great advantage. They're also giving back to the world. They're also doing great things.
They are,
but they are also using those free platforms to create a personal brand.
He's the first time I got exposed to Vaynerchuk was when I worked for one of the companies I just came out of before I started working for myself, which is a whole other topic.
Well, let's do it today. Let's go 90 minutes.
I came out of that, and while I was with that job, I got exposed to Gary Vaynerchuk from a Facebook ads seminar that they had here in Nashville. And one of the speakers, one of the panelists, talked about how, somebody had asked him, where do you get your marketing prowess from? And he said, believe it or not, actually, a lot of it's from Gary Vaynerchuk. And something told me to write his name down.
Yep.
And I misspelled it and probably butchered his name. But then I got back to the office, looked him up, and I've been as soon as I heard him start speaking, the guy just shoots from the hip like anybody else.
He's completely transparent.
Completely.
And
as legally as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, and he's that's his whole approach in speaking engagements as well. Usually when I do speaking engagements, which I've been doing for a decade, I try to keep it squeaky clean, the occasional racy joke or some adult humor in there, but he's just F this, F that. It's completely real and raw.
That's how he is.
And you could just take it or leave it. But I think there's something that speaks to transparency, because you have always been kind of like a muse to me, in a sense, a marketing muse, where I said, I jumped on MySpace in 2005. It died. As soon as Facebook opened up in 2007, I got that on that platform, and I just instinctively knew, hey, I'm drumming all the time, I'm traveling all the time, I'm teaching all the time, I'm passionate about these things. Let me just put up something once or twice a day and see if I can find an audience. I was just very intuitive about it. You were very encouraging. And then in the early years, I had so many doubters and haters.
You did.
And you told me to push through those people, which
Absolutely.
was fantastic advice, so thank you.
Yeah, because I knew that, in the adage of marketing and advertising and radio and things that I was familiar with, sometimes you'd get owners and advertisers that would call you up and say, hey, the latest spot is getting me some complaint calls. And I would come back and say, oh, they're talking about you. And I would just let it go silent. And they'd go, okay, I see what you're saying. I'm like, what's the problem?
What's the point of advertising?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, Cardone says it, if you have haters and people who talk adversely about you, it probably means you're on the right path.
Yes.
I call it the Howard Stern effect. Back, if you read some of Howard Stern's things, I was a big fan back in the 80s and 90s. My brother turned me on to him. I read all his books, saw his movie, worked on a surface level with his crew out in Vegas. But back when he was in Washington, he had the time where he was starting to really plant his flag in the soil. And when some of the advertisers started going away, the radio station realized, but wait a minute, we're bringing on new advertisers. And then when they polled, they did the ratings, and they were able to ask and poll an audience as to why do people like Howard Stern. First of all, they listened for 2.5 hours. And the reason given was because I want to hear what he's going to say next.
Right.
People who did not like Howard Stern listened for 3.5 hours. Reason given? I want to hear what he's going to say next.
Right.
Okay. As soon as he started polarizing people, his star just shot up just infinitely. But you doing what you do,
I'm more squeaky clean.
No, you're not. I don't think you're squeaky clean. I just think you're you. That's the only way you can.
But you're not going to see me posting about politics or religion.
No.
You're just not going to see it.
Some people like to do that, and they like to stir the pot that way. If that's their thing, it's a cautionary tale with that kind of an approach. You kind of heed the warnings and go one of two ways. Yeah. You see what happened with Kathy Griffin this past week. That's that. But then again, that could be a genius way for a publicist to play that out over the next year. Like, you never know what may come of that. But, you know, what you and I have talked about for Sarah, I just think Sarah just talk about, you know, every day, what is it that you're doing? Do Snapchat, do Instagram, take pictures here and there, things that are of value to your audience.
Yeah,
That's how you...
Yeah, everyone's got something super interesting. I mean,
Right.
she's practicing 3 hours a day. She's going to school. She's teaching kids. She's a double black belt. I mean, her life, she's befriending lots of interesting people in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm super proud of her. That's a really cool story to tell right away as you're developing she's developing her skill set. She's putting in her 10,000 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So in this modern day, as you're getting good at something, you could be documenting it and telling the world, ta-da!
Right.
Here I am. As opposed to you and I, we had to put in our tens of thousands of hours, get good at something, go out there. And when I moved here, it was the yellow pages, it was cold calling, it was getting the union musicians book and calling people alphabetically. Today, you can hit 5,000 people with one bit of information instantaneously.
But the thing is that you have that perspective of prospecting. That's part of the sales process. You were prospecting, whether you knew it or not.
Yeah.
You knew that you would have to hit the ground
Playing
running.
the numbers game.
Right. It was lottery.
Yeah.
But I mean, and the more people you got in front of, the more chances you had, the better chance you had to make a sale.
And you have to have faith in your product. So you can go, I'm going to go sell this thing. That product, for me, was being me. Same with you, because you're selling your products and services as a voiceover artist and as someone that does interesting video work. That now how we came into each other's lives was a thing called VidSigs, now which was short for video signatures. So Jim's idea behind this was to have at the end of your email, where you actually put your signature, your Google signature, to have a video that was less than a minute or less than 2 minutes, that was a person against a white sheet. So you were only focusing on that person in
Almost
their
literally.
rawest form.
Yeah.
Telling themselves about what they did.
And that whole idea was born out of what I did on radio. Because from my earliest days in radio as a production director, you'd be sitting in the production studio. I was also on air in Connecticut, but in radio and production, mainly I was the guy who had all the clients that came in and recorded the commercials for the clients whenever they wanted to be in their own spots. So they would come in and they would have their script in front of them. And they would run through their script and read everything. And it was, you know, after a while, I would say, okay, you know what? Now that you're warmed up and you know your tongue is limber, your cheeks are kind of warmed up, let's take the copy out of your hands and let's just have a conversation. And within that 20 minutes, I would ask, you know, who are you? Why do you do what you do? What do you do? Who do you do it for?
You captured it.
Right. And we just had a conversation about what they do, and it was completely authentic. It was off the cuff. It was off the top of their head, from the heart. And within that 20-25 minute session, I would get about 3 or 4 radio spots.
Amazing.
60 second.
It's a great idea, and you use this word authentic, which is very funny that we're bringing this up, because the name of your actual film company is Authentic Films.
At one time, it was.
So I have every faith in you that you're going to do more short films and do more video work in that realm, but. Ladies and germs, about 7 years ago, when I was still coming up with this young artist named Jason Aldean and Kurt Allison and Dolly Kennedy and everybody that was in the Jason Aldean organization, Jim had the idea to follow me around for a week, the week in the life of a sideman musician. So we're talking to rehearsals, we're talking to shows, we're talking on the tour bus, we're talking recording sessions, everything. A little bit of my home life, which we kind of took out because I don't have a home life anymore.
Yeah.
But those that are watching that know me and knew me from 10 years ago, that was a freshly married man. They might know the story.
Oh, you weren't even married yet.
Yeah, we were still dating.
Yeah, you were engaged.
That just goes to show you that the 7-year itch is real. It's a whole other story.
I've been married 16 years.
I know,
so,
but for some reason I can't make it past 7 years. I've got 14 years in relationships, and I can't make it past 7. But either way...
It's funny. I was wondering if you wanted to bring that up.
No, the idea is... this is a little bit off-the-cuff comedy. Is this film exists. Mm-hmm. It is a 50-minute behind-the-scenes... Documentary.
I had no business shooting it, by the way, because I'm just one of those guys. I'm like, yeah, I'll try it. What the hell?
Jim will try anything.
I execute. You don't have to get it perfect. You just got to get it started.
Well, that's what Gary Vee did. He was taking his parents' wine store and going and putting up a camera and going, let's talk about wine. This is what we have in the shop today. If you're eating fish, try this. Yeah. If you're eating spaghetti, try this. And he grew it into a multi-million dollar
$60 million in 5 years.
That's incredible. Because I know what I've been able to accomplish in 5 years. Of course, I think that more people like wine than they do drums.
It's, I think, what do we do with the research on...
Look at me. I'm drinking wine right now.
Wine and drums goes together. But I think a lot of that film, has been kind of like, man, if it could just see the light of day.
Are you guys, let me ask you, are you guys and gals interested in seeing this? Because I brought it up. Oh, my
gosh.
I brought it up to Kurt and Tully. Now, those of you in the know that Kurt Allison and Tully Kennedy they're my bedfellows, man. They are my best pals. I have seen these guys more than I have seen my wives, girlfriends, blood brothers, family members, weddings, funerals, graduations missed year after year after year traveling down the road with these guys. I just got off a bus 16 years from Jones Beach, New York with these guys on a 45-foot tube. And I got to the house. Jim's here. We're recording this episode. Would you like to see this 50-minute documentary? It's a slice of time. It's a moment in time.
Stamped.
It's a moment in time.
And I watched it the other day just to kind of, see if there's anything I could possibly do. And there's a couple of little hiccups here and there that I want to fix. But, the way you guys play off of each other and how much fun you have just, ribbing each other and... how they play to the camera. It is awesome.
We one time had offers for a reality show.
Oh, this could probably get that.
It almost happened, but
and you better get me involved with that.
Be careful what you wish for with your reality show, because sometimes you only have a window of not 15 minutes. You literally have a window of 2.5 minutes, and there's a cap on the money you make, and there's a cap on everything. Now, it worked for some of the hunting shows and that kind of stuff. But I don't know.
But it's not something it's not
everything happens for a reason,
It's not far-fetched to do something like that online these days.
It would also be really weird to script us, because I think a lot of the magic would disappear if you scripted us, because we're talking about three guys that finish each other's sentences. I got in a rip-roaring, silly fight with Tully yesterday. And not even an hour goes by. We made up. We hugged it out. We burst out into laughing with a little tear, and then we got on stage and we destroyed it.
It's a brotherhood.
Yes.
It really is you've been playing with these guys for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And
that does not happen in this city by choice.
Right.
We made a choice to make that happen. So the film is called Working the Dream, and I ran it past Kurt and Tully, and they're into it. They want to double check it, and of course I got to run things up the flagpole and make sure that the people that...
I did not expect to...
They're like, oh, really? I forgot about that. Oh, my God. Jim followed us around for a week. That's right. So this thing might see the light of day. So enough about me. What else do you want to talk about? Sales, social media,
well, getting back to what Sarah was talking about, a lot of what I talked about at your Drummers Weekend does come down to that sales process. And I invoke it not just for creative things, but also for the LED lighting business that I'm a co-owner of with a great friend of mine.
Tell us about it.
Tim Cooper, he's my partner in the business. And he was in the LED business a year when I was still with Mercedes, and he told me what he was doing at the time, and I just saw the LED technology coming out. It was kind of emerging. You only saw just a tiny...
These are LED lights?
Yeah. You only you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, you only saw a little sliver of the shelf space being devoted.
It's getting bigger.
Oh, my gosh. It's
exploding. It's inevitable, and we will all... We love Edison. We love that happened. But the world is going to go there.
It's heading there.
It's heading there.
It's pretty much already there. The wave is coming on shore. If anything, it's probably crashed, and we're getting that little.
Yeah. So if you tell you what, if you are a business owner, or
like a sound check.
A sound check would be amazing. Case jumper. I've talked to you.
Sound check is good. They're sitting on at least 60% savings a month.
I'm going to be going to sound check tomorrow for a rehearsal for the CMT Awards, because we're playing the CMT Awards.
Warm introduction.
It's going to be really, really good. But no, through my teaching and my crash course for success events, I I meet a lot of people. So I'm at guitar centers, I'm at Sam Ash's, I'm at mom and pop drum shops and music stores and high schools and colleges, and I meet small business owners, I meet people from Fortune 500 companies. If you have a physical brick and mortar business and you want to make the transition to LED lighting, let me know. I will introduce you to Jim and his company. He will come out totally turnkey, white glove, transfer everything out. There's government savings. You're going to save on your bill every month. Yeah. It's just that little transition in the technology and your bill.
Sometimes you're looking at a payoff of about 2 to 3 years, and that's about it, depending on the size of the space. But a lot of the sales processes that I use even come into play there. Because a lot of the things that I teach are the closing techniques. Because you can have sales techniques and the ability to create rapport, do a fact-finding, uncovery type of thing, and figuring out what your customer's looking for. But getting to the table for that value proposition is the most important thing, because that's where you really put out your wares and you can explain why you're asking for the price you're asking. Then comes the close. Because if you don't close, you drop the C, what do? You lose.
You got to close or you lose. Ba-bam. So let me ask you this. As a single men out there, can we use these sales techniques to close the deal with single ladies?
Well, would you get objections from ladies? I mean, come on.
No, we don't want to use techniques.
Look at this guy.
I just like to be super humorous and fun in the moment. And if you don't like what's happening,
it's part of the sale.
It's a big world out there.
I mean, everybody is a salesperson. That's what I was talking about before, the hierarchy.
Talk to the musicians out there.
Musicians,
that want
drummers,
to sell their
voiceover, songwriters. I say all the time, if the people that were in your class were there for a reason, they want to make a career in drumming. They want to
25 campers that come to the drummers weekends.
Right. And I say, when I sat down and talked to them, I said, "What do you guys you're all here to get into this business, right?" And all the hands shot up. I said, "How many people here consider themselves to be a business?" A couple more, a couple less hands shot up. And I said, "How many people here hate salespeople?" Every hand shoots up. I say, "You know what, guys? What drives a business? What feeds the business? What's oxygen to a business other than cash? It's sales. Mm-hmm. Without sales, there is no business. And congratulations, you're all salespeople."
But in people-oriented businesses like the music business, where it is about relationships and it's about people,
but you're still selling.
People don't want to be sold hard. You want your talent to speak for itself. Mm-hmm. I had a couple of people in my early days say, "Let your talent speak for itself, Rich, and things will just sort of happen." Now, that is true, but there's no reason why you can't have a nice website so that people can see what you look like, hear your recording, see what you look like playing, read about your products and services, have a nice business card, then combine that with great stuff like showing up on time and having great sounding gear and being the first one there and the last one to leave and being able to take direction. Like, those things are all like...
It's part of the sale.
It's part of the sale.
But what you're talking about is that first tip of the spear in the marketing, getting people to know about you and at least show up on their radar. When it comes to, because one of the biggest things that spurred this on was voiceover people who would get the question right out of the box. That somebody would find them and then email them and say, "Hey, I've heard your stuff. How much?"
That's the first question. The first question for any creative. And let me tell you this, folks. I've had a lot of friends that are, say, photographers or demo singers or drummers, and they're moving to Nashville, and they ask me, "Rich, how do I know what to ask for?" And I said, "It's the Wild West. You can get what you can get. Yep. You have to put a price. You have to put a value on your time." So it's the two T's, time and talent. And I did a meme about this about a week ago. I am the first person to surround myself with experts because I can't do everything. First of all, I'm not interested in everything, and I don't have the time. But I want to have complete control over everything that I do. I want everything that I do to be golden. So I have to hire people that are very, very skilled. And if you knock it out of the ballpark, you are not even going to have to ask for your money. Boom! Cash, check, PayPal, Venmo. You're getting your money.
Well, I mean, that's what a personal brand can do. Getting your price in a drive to the bottom market or race to the bottom market, especially with voiceover, anybody can handle or hang a mic in their closet and hang a shingle that says, "I'm a voiceover talent."
Right.
And then...
how do you set yourself apart?
Right. And that's all about branding. It's all about telling your story. For any creative effort, endeavor, And the reason why I target creatives, because honestly, I think creatives are some of the worst salespeople out there. They have no idea.
No, they are hands
it's
down
deer
the
in the
worst
headlights
sales.
whenever they get that question, what are your rates? And I always tell people the first question, you always control the conversation by asking the questions. Okay, so when people are asking you questions, well, your rates can. Well, what are my rates? What is it that you're looking to do? What's your project?
What do I need to give you?
Right.
And things can slide, and they can also, your rates can also be adjustable from where you are in your career. So if you're a 22-year-old drummer that just graduated from the University of North Texas or Musicians Institute, and you're coming to Nashville, Tennessee, take the job for $50.
Oh, well, saying yes to everything, and that's helping you. That's the hamburger versus steak mentality that I did a video on a couple months ago. I call them, some of the clients that I have for voiceover are called hamburger clients that, they don't pay much, but you know what? The amount of volume I get from them will replace my income. And that's what pretty much has happened over the past year.
And all those hamburgers talk, and they will lead to the sirloin and to the filet.
Right.
And it just works.
But I know a lot of
voiceover
talents, a lot of voiceover people who won't take the hamburger clients because it's a pride thing.
Yeah.
I won't crack my mic for anything less than $350. And when I hear that, I said, okay, great. Who were you talking to? How much were they willing to go down? And did you get to that value presentation portion of the sales process to justify how much you want? You have to justify it to them.
There is a dollar amount.
Don LaFontaine made $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 of voiceover, even more
per film,
per trailer.
Because he branded the film in a world,
right?
And I even parodied that on Drumming in the Modern World. I parodied Don LaFontaine. And it's really funny because, Jim is kind of like a voiceover mentor for me. So he goes, Rich, I kind of like what you did with that In a World thing, but I'm actually redoing the trailer for Drumming in the Modern World for you because he understands writing copy even better than I do. And he is a better voiceover artist, and he's got a bigger range and he has much more experience. The thing that I like and that Jim likes about what I'm doing with my voiceover is that I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Do I make a living doing it? But when somebody hands me copy, I can execute.
Yeah.
I did all those short films that are on richacts.com. It's all my voiceover.
Yeah.
So just if you want something, if you're interested in doing it, I know you would agree, just put yourself out there and do it. Take that risk. But I digress. I want us to stay on this subject of pricing because I do have friends. I got friends in Los Angeles here that say, look, I don't walk out my front door for less than $500. Now, of course, these are guys that have played on hit records and they've done huge international tours. So that does make sense. Their calendar is booked up enough to where they go, okay, I'm making a living from touring with this person, recording regularly with this person, and doing drum tracks from my studio. I teach them lessons, so I have a couple free days a month available. So the only way I want to fill those days is if I make that $500 minimum.
Yeah.
Right? So that does make sense. It takes time to get there. 10, 15, 20 years to set a price point like that. But you can start doing it. So say you're that person that's 22 years old, you move to town, you're making that $50, and then you get a touring gig. And you get that touring gig and you start to develop a reputation. Maybe you say, hey, can you give me, will I do the gig for $75? At the same time, look at all the fun things that I've gotten to do, and I will go, and if I like the person enough, and I believe in them, maybe I'm producing them, I'll go play for free.
Yeah.
Sometimes I come out of pocket because I got to pay John Hole to set up my drums.
But I mean, at that point, from a business standpoint, that's a tax deduction.
It's a tax. It's advertising, and I'm working my craft. I'm working the dream, which is the name of that.
And the thing is, and you hit the nail on the head. It's advertising.
Yeah.
It's part of your marketing when you actually go out and shake hands and do hand-to-hand combat. The marketing. The sale is still going on in that sense. You're still selling yourself to that person. I truly believe that in any given situation, to quote Grant Cardone in his book, it is a sell or be sold world we're living in. You're either doing the selling or you're being sold in any given situation. Right. I don't care. I mean, even if you're in high school, and I used this analogy on some of the students in your class, I said, you guys are salespeople. You just don't know it. And they said, how? I said, well, you guys, you're in your junior, senior years of high school, I take it? And they said, yeah. And I said, you got a prom coming up next year? Yeah. Probably got a girl you want to ask, don't you? And they said, yeah. Congratulations, you're a salesman.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to sell yourself to that girl to ask her to prom and for her to say yes. That's the close.
It's like in nature. Yeah. If you ever watch,
it's the sale.
there's crazy ways in nature where a male can display himself to a woman, and they might have big plumes, or they might have a song, or they might make some interesting sand sculpture to impress the woman. Or,
Absolutely.
It's like the female of the species, which is really, really crazy. Hey, if you had to tell the listeners, Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, what are the books for them to buy? Crush It, right? There's
Crush It is always a good one. I mean, honestly, from a marketing standpoint, I'm a big fan of The Basics, which it all started for me with Reese and Trout, Al Reese and Jack Trout, The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing.
Okay.
That's a great book. What's the latest one I'm reading? The Tony Robbins book is the latest one I'm reading, which actually I think John Holl is reading.
Personal Power? Or it's like financial?
It's the financial one. It's Money Master the Game.
Money Master the Game. Okay, perfect.
I've read a couple of Tony's books. I go back and listen to Grant's book, Closer Survival Guide. He's got like 99 closes in there, and it's all, for getting them to agree and buy the product at that particular point in time. It's pretty much a hard close, but you can take those ideas and dissect them into what you do and say, okay, how would that particular close? Because they're all not going to jibe with you. You're not going to be able to absorb and memorize them in one pass. You'll have to listen to it over and over again. And even some of them are kind of outlandish, but some of them are really good. And you can actually internalize them and put them into your own words and everything and verbalize them the way you see it with, however you get in front of a customer, for you, for anybody. But I think, when the creative, I think you've actually learned, I think you sell fine. I think you're able to sell yourself very well. The reason being is because you came on the scene and you embraced all the technology that was coming out. Facebook and YouTube and everything.
I think that you either have a little. If you don't have it, you need to learn about it. Yeah. But I was always the guy, even at University of North Texas, where I was living in Denton, Texas, but I would drive down the 30 minutes, the 30 plus miles into Dallas, Texas, and there was top 40 bands that were playing that I loved, that I wanted to be in. So I would go and I would talk to the drummers, and I would talk to the band leaders, and I would meet all the guys in the band, and I marketed myself and says, hey, I can do this. Can you guys put me on the sub list? Yeah, well, we never heard you play. Let me sit in. So I would sit in, and then I got to be friends, and I literally ended up playing every high-level band in Dallas, Texas.
That was your value proposition. You started getting a notoriety, and it kind of preceded you. And even in this town, some people, would kind of josh you and needle you about the fact that you always had a demo tape and a business card, and you're always handing out demo tapes. And it's even in Working the Dream where Emily West is talking about how, back in the day at a Halloween party, someone dressed up like you and spiked up your hair, and they came with a leather jacket. Hey, I'm Rich Redmond. But you know what?
Wow.
They're saying your name. Yeah. They're saying your name.
What's really crazy is that
when they say your name, it precedes you. That's not a bad thing.
And
I can't stand the way he does it. Great. You know what? Who's that again? Rich Redmond? Yeah, that's what I've been saying all along.
Emily's musicianship gives me goosebumps. I mean, one of the only recording artists I've played with that consistently gives me goosebumps, and makes me incredibly happy, or makes me cry. And that's playing the drums behind her. Like, wow. So I got really happy when I shot that,
I had no idea who she was.
She's incredible.
And, I was getting the shots of you and everything, and all of a sudden she hit a high note, and I was like, oh, zoom out. Oh, my gosh. I mean, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
She's that kind of talent. And so everybody check out Emily West.
Oh, my gosh.
Known her since 1999. Played her showcase that got her signed.
She's down at she does Musician's Corner quite a bit. She's a good friend of my a buddy of mine named John Tumanello.
Love John.
You know Johnny.
I played with John
Tumanello
songs. Dude, this goes so deep. Oh my God, guys, the layers in Nashville. Check this out. Talking about books.
I did a video for him too.
I bought this book.
Mr. Zorro.
There are brick and mortar bookstores still, and I got the iPad, and I do download things. I like the convenience. I like to go on vacation with my iPad and have all my books, but I bought this book by our friend Zorro. It's called Soar. You were meant to live for so much more. And much like my crash concept, where I talk about commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger in a sort of secular way. I mean, Zorro pretty much does the same thing, but he's also, he's a minister, and he's branding himself as a speaker that can speak to churches and youth rallies and that kind of stuff. So he's coming from, more of a spiritual point of view, and he's got these 9 life principles, which are amazing. They're called Surrender, Discover, Dream, Strategize, Pursue, Believe, Bend, Be, and Impact. I mean, it's really heavy, and it's a real easy read, and he's got these little asides with these awesome quotes from people like Vincent van Gogh and, let me see, Mark Twain. Let's see, who else? Some really big Tiger Woods. I love those kind of little asides. They're kind of motivational. So pick it up, and Zora will probably end up being a guest on our podcast at some point.
Love to have him.
You know, he was here for about 12 years. We became friends, and he moved back out to Los Angeles because he's like, as much as I love Nashville, I miss the sun and the culture and the food, and I say, I get it. And so check out SOAR, everybody. Let's, are there any questions?
Mark Bernhard, he actually, I appreciate the fact that he put in a lot of work to ask this question. He says, my band is reaching the point where we are starting to get some opportunities locally to open some national artists, Billy Cyrus, Joe Diffie, things of that nature. He's trying to get from 500 capacity venues to 3,000 and 4,000 capacity venues. They have our eye on an upcoming Travis Tritt show to ensure local support on larger shows. Would it be better to reach out to the artist management for those opportunities, or should we be persistently pestering the venues? Who usually makes the decisions for opening support acts for those mid-sized
The promoter.
venues?
You're wrong on both of those. You guys need to know the promoter, because the promoter is the big risk taker in the music industry. If they book talent on a festival and the festival fails, see, they've got to put up all the money to bring the talent in. So that promoter is paying for Travis Tritt to come in. So whatever Travis Tritt's rate is, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. I don't know what he's selling for now. The promoter comes out of that pocket to cover that artist. He has to guarantee the artist. Then he's taking ticket sales to offset that cost and hoping that he's going to actually make a profit. It's the gambling side of the music industry, but if you become a promoter that gets your game down and establishes relationships, you can really win. Mm-hmm. So what you need to do is be friends with the promoter, and the promoter needs to know that you will show up and you will truly get that crowd excited and warmed up for Travis to come out and do his thing. That's what a great opening act does. And so we always try to do with Aldean is we always try to do our job. We tried to stay out of the way of Keith Urban and the Rascal Flatts and Tim McGraw. And the Rascal Flatts were great to us. They had us out for 3 or 4 tours. Mm-hmm. And we went out there and literally played 17 and a half minutes on their first tour. That's like 3 songs. Mm-hmm. We played 3 songs. So you're traveling, you're waiting around all day. You're setting up and tearing down drums to play 3 songs, and because it was 20 minutes on and off. And we did our job, and at the same time, by doing our job, we were able to create new fans for Jason.
Yeah.
And we got that audience excited. And so there was an energy in the room when the Flats came out, and that's what a good opening act does.
That was a hamburger client. It translated into other things.
Yes.
Into the Sirloin act that you are. I mean, you were a Sirloin act back then.
Yeah.
But to get on a tour like that at the height of their fame and popularity, to associate yourselves with that tour is not only great for a feather in your cap and your resume, but at the same time, 17 minutes, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say yes to everything. And that's part of the whole notion of how much time. When somebody asks me to do a voiceover for $50. I investigate how much time it's going to take me.
Right.
Okay? If it's going to be something like 5 or 10 minutes, okay. I mean, if it's something where they're going to want to be on FaceTime or Skype with me and coach, and it's going to be 2 hours, and they're going to, let's try this line differently. Let's try it, go down a little bit deeper. Try, pausing, all that kind of stuff. No, but
if they have faith in you and they say, send me 2 versions.
Right.
Boom.
And that's the thing is that even though they're paying me $50, it takes me 5 to 10 minutes, I'll read it probably 6 times.
Right.
Just to give them, hey guys, here's something I'm hearing in my head that might work. If it doesn't, not a problem, but want to give you as many options as possible.
Love it.
It's part of your value proposition at that point.
Yeah.
For them, even though you've already closed the deal, it helps brand you as you move forward.
And have them come back again to use your product and services.
Right.
So for the folks out there that think that, you just end up playing, stadiums with Kenny Chesney, overnight, it just doesn't happen. I mean, literally, we recorded Jason's record in 2004, and you go out and you play every show known to man.
200 plus.
200 plus.
That's a grind.
It's a grind. And you do it with a giant smile on your face.
Let me ask you this, though. I mean, 200 shows, is that unheard of.
It's great for your chops. No, all of us. Dirk Bentley, all the Miranda Lambert, all the people that are like our contemporaries did that same thing. And
for somebody coming into town, that's like a dream.
Some call rare air. It's rarefied air to be in that place. It just, especially with the music business changing and being as difficult as it is, you can do whatever you want, but there is going to be salesmanship involved. You have to believe in your product, and your product has to be worthy. It has to be up to par with everything that else is going on. So compare yourself. Like, I don't want you to overly compare yourself for the rest of your life, but you have to look out at the people that are doing what you want to do, and you have to say, do I stand up?
Yeah.
Does my product and service...
And it also takes a lot of, as Vaynerchuk talks about, self-awareness. What is your DNA? With John Hull, and we interviewed him last week, he set out to be the best drum technician he can be.
And he's quickly getting a wonderful reputation.
And he's going to make that work. And he's going to make 6, possibly 7 figures down the road doing what he does. I have no doubt in my mind. He's a driven individual. That's the kind of thing that you got to be self-aware. If you're coming to town and you want to... you said this one time that everybody has a place in this business that they really want it. And that's the key. If you really want it, if you have the hard work and work ethic and the patience to endure, because you're seeing guys come to town and 10 months later, they're like, I'm done.
Too soon. 10 months. You're not even a Nashvilleian.
Oh, my
You're not a Nashvilleian until you've been here 200 days.
Or
two years. That's 720 days.
8 months to 14 months into it, I won't play on Broadway. What?
Well, that's a subject that we've mentioned, the I won't play on Broadway topic in 6 episodes.
Yeah.
So maybe people can throw flaming darts at me, but if you feel like you are too good to play on Lower Broadway, I'm probably not going to recommend you for anything, because it just shows you really don't want it bad enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's or you think you're too good for it or anything. I mean, you 10 years, 15 years into it. You never know who you'll meet. It's you got to look at it as hand-to-hand combat. You'll never know who you'll get in front of. You'll never know whose hand you're going to shake or whose baby you're going to kiss. That's the attitude you got to have. If you have the time to do it and it pays you, and you got to go down there and schlep your gear and everything, and it's only, I don't know what it pays, $50 a night maybe or something?
I don't know. I mean, you could do a Saturday night at the stage or Tootsie's and walk out with $400. That's a good job.
That's a good take.
That's more than some major label artists pay.
Right. And while you're there...
I just said that.
That's basically...
Some new artists are
You're
not
on break,
yeah.
You got business cards, you got leave-behinds, handouts, something. Marketing yourself. Getting people to follow you, Sarah, this is another great thing. Always asking for that follow
Sarah
Instagram.
has signed off. Just kidding. See, we were talking too much. He's like, they're not talking about
that
drums.
Dude's way too ugly and bald.
We're just not. They're not talking about drums.
But I mean, that's to develop your personal brand. Like I always tell you, it's always about what's in it for your audience. That's the bottom line. It's marketing 101. All you're doing is answering the question, what's in it for me? Mm-hmm. Okay, if I have the control to scroll through the feed and you come up and all you're doing is trying to sell to me or trying to do something, I'm going to start associating that feeling with your name. That's the notion you own, and that's almost, it's like a new way of positioning in a way. You can no longer tell a customer or a prospect what it is that you're about, because the platforms are no longer one way. They go both ways, if not even stronger from the consumer side that way. It has to be about what's in it for them. What kind of value are you offering at any given moment? That's why we started out with the Rich's Wisdom. What is it that you know? Let's talk about some of these things. And that evolved into Pick Rich's Brain, where people could ask you questions. And that's the thing.
Thank you, buddy.
That's the thing I want.
Jim has always been, he's like, you need to do a podcast, you need to do a webisode. Yep. I was like, buddy, I'm too busy. I am too busy. And you know what? We're even busier. Thank you. But Jim is also the guy that also tells me to do things in my life like, hey, you need a car. I've never really been a car guy, and then all of a sudden he tells me, he's like, I sell all day high-end cars, and he goes, you need a high-end car. And I said, you know what, Jim? You're effing right. So we went car shopping one day, and I bought myself a nice car, and let me tell you, it is a nice feeling. because I'm only in Nashville 48 to 72 hours a week.
Yeah.
And now driving has gone from, let me drive this plastic box around that smells like dirty laundry, to a sport. I have driving gloves. Thank you.
Really?
Thank you, Jim. For the winter, I have driving gloves. No, I don't wear them in the summer because they're leather.
You have a heated steering wheel, don't
They're
you?
leather. No, I don't have heated steering. No, that was extra.
That was one of those things that you just walked into the showroom and the car was on the floor, and the search ended right there. I mean, the search, I think, to shop for the car lasted about 20 minutes.
Well, you go to these dealers and you go, well, that's a little too expensive, and that's too dentisty, and that's too lawyery, and that's too mom and dad, and then that is the perfect thing. So I did.
Wasn't it said to you recently, you'd be like, oh, you would drive an Audi?
Oh, yeah, some people, but he might be a guest on. He might be a guest on the show.
I think he should, man.
Oh, it would be a laugh riot. I think all
really
three of us
be.
on this show would be really, really good. So let me ask you this: the red light is still on. We're having a ball. I hope everybody else is having a ball out there. How are we doing, Facebook land?
Sean Deal Giant.
Hey, Red Dragon.
Red Dragon.
Excuse me? Do you mind? That's an inside joke. So how can people find you? Tell us about all your products and services and the best way to find you.
Well, first and foremost, a lot of what I do is, like I said, as I get older, the thing that I think I capitalize on most is getting in front of somebody, whether it's a business, a personal brand. I've always been that guy, and my guys in radio have always joshed me about this, is I was the guy who would always say, you know what you should do. I was always that guy. And I think there's a reason for that, because as someone talks to me, the gears are turning in my head, and I'm thinking they can do this, they can do this, they can capitalize on this, they can be this. And then I'm instantly going, here.
You're almost like a life coach. Really, you're almost like our business coach.
But I mean, it's more of a marketing thing of helping people get to, and even helping with their business plans and the formulation of the structure of the business and how things can, how they can get paid for things and things of that nature. Recently, I helped I'm in BNI, and a friend of mine who's in the BNI chapter with me, she does something for Class 101. She's got something going on where her territory is kind of sort of being compromised, and she basically, I said, well, do you own your own URL? Namehere.com.
Right.
And she's like, no. I said, do that within the next 20 minutes after we leave.
Right.
Okay?
Lock that
I'm going to go to GoDaddy.com, put in your name.com, and say, look, it's available. It's $12. Do it.
Now. Yeah.
Before somebody else does. I said, I don't want you to be in the position 3, 6, 9 months from now where, man, I shoulda. Okay? God.
You don't want to be in a member of the widow shoulda.
And the funny thing is that she's already got the horsepower behind what she's doing. Mm-hmm. She's got return clients, people who rave about her, 5-star reviews on her professional page. I mean, she's doing it.
She just needs to step up her.
She's got to be a personal brand.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to impart.
Can you help people with that? How do they find you? What's your email address?
Email would be pretty much, you can go to jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com and contact me there. Follow me on Instagram at Jim McCarthy VOS, and pretty much
Voiceovers. VOS.
That's pretty much my handle.
All right.
But again, with the videos, obviously, a lot of the stuff I'm doing now is more documentary-esque, where I just did it for a chiropractor, where I just followed him around for 2.5 hours as he interacted with patients, and we condensed it into a 5-minute video. Again, knowing where I sat in front of him, and we discussed the plan and the strategy. He had other video producers in there pitching their wares, but because I have a sales background, I know how to explain how I do what I do, and I can pretty much, after I do that, name my price and back it up and close. He went ahead with it, okay, and I was working within his budget, which is okay, and we did a documentary-style video based on the community where we lived. And I said, it's going to be like this video. It comes out, you already got people that are fans of you. They're going to share it. You put a couple, $50 to $100 behind it on a Facebook campaign. Mm-hmm. And dude, before he knew it, he's like, man, I think it would be a success if we got 2,000 views. I think he had 2,000 views in the first 18 hours.
So this is a product that's affordable and high quality. So people should check you out for that. And then, of course, any businesses wanting to go to LED lighting,
big.lighting.com.
Big.lighting.com. And then
it's funny because it was one of these topics I've been thinking about addressing as of late is you do all this stuff over here, and you're in the lighting business. How does that kind of work?
Well, people are like, okay, so you are a accomplished drummer, and now you want to start at the bottom. No, they asked me.
Right.
So you're an accomplished drummer, and now you want to start at the bottom of the acting food chain.
Right.
Dude, it's just...
you've always wanted to be an actor, though.
I've always wanted to do it, so you just do it.
I think your umbrella is more of entertainer.
Right.
And
your umbrella is all sorts of cool things.
Oh, my God. And that's, I try not to get cocky about it, but I know I bring a lot to the table when it comes to certain things.
Well, you have mentored...
It takes time.
You have been the guy on my shoulder that has kept me on track in some dark times, and you've helped me stay on track and be a forward thinker and an outside-of-the-box thinker, so thank you so much, for that. And speaking of sales, on the socials, I can be salesy, and I have to be careful because I have so many services. Teaching in-person lessons, doing the camps, doing clinics, all the signature products. Hey, look at my new Humsenberg, snare drum case and my drumsticks and my book. It's very difficult to let the world know those things exist and not be over salesy.
Because that's where the value of those products comes into play.
Sure.
And that's where you talk about that. What about the Humsenberg case is going to make their life much better? Mm-hmm. Is it, you got to kind of talk about those things.
It looks really cool.
It really does. It's a sexy product.
And you know what it's made of? It's all the great stuff that you would want from a Humsenberg product, which is an American company, 80 years. But they took red wine bottles, ground them up, and they're peppered in with the plastic. Mm-hmm. So it's black with crushed red wine glasses. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool.
It's the other thing is it just comes back to what's in it for them.
Well, as soon as you realize that everybody is in the world, we all want to make a difference. We all do incredible things for each other. A lot of us do. Everyone's like, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
That's the human condition.
Why am I going to spend the next 30 to 120 seconds watching this video? It's time out of my day, and that's one of the biggest assets. People are saying time is worth more than money these days.
Yeah. So one person was like, hey, that was well worth my hour. I was like, almost like, wow.
Have we done an hour already?
I don't know.
No, almost. But that's what it really comes down to. The best radio station you can listen to is WIIFM. What's in it for me? Yeah, WIIFM. I tell people all the time. That's it. Whenever you post, what's in it for that person on the other side receiving it? Is it funny? Is it informative? Is it inspiring? Is it is it going to move them? That's pretty much all you got to figure out and do. In any of your social media efforts, is it a pretty picture? Is it going to make them want to heart it on Instagram? It's funny. It's like the same picture over and over again of me. We're both looking at the computer.
I don't know if we froze or not. It looks like we froze on the Facebook.
No, the comments are still coming in. I think that I think it's just an internet connection issue.
Okay, yeah. But I'm definitely going to go to a faster Wi-Fi connection, AT&T.
Fiber.
Yeah, definitely. This is because I'm actually going to be doing motivational events right here, and I got to have super fast Wi-Fi. So I'm installing that like ASAP.
Yeah.
So any other closing comments about personal branding, social media, sales for creatives, any fun books you recommend, cool projects you have coming up?
First off, from that hierarchy standpoint, when you're going into business for yourself, for anybody that's in there, you got to consider yourself a salesperson first. Business person second, meaning knowing how to operate a business, knowing that if you're in a partnership, get an operational agreement going with an attorney, whoever else you're in the business with, that lays out everything, all the legalities and all that stuff. CPA, definitely. And, of course, doing what you do and doing it to the best of your ability. And telling that story every day.
Every day.
The more people talk about you and the more your name comes up. That's the thing about social media. If you're not on it, and funny, I don't think I do a great job with it. I like to say things when I have something to say. Mm-hmm. So I don't come up as often. If I force it, it seems forced. Mm-hmm. So I could probably do a little bit better.
You can always put a picture of an avocado on there. That's what I do. And then what? And then one more time, how can people find you?
Just look for me, Jim McCarthy VOs, at Jim McCarthy VOs.
Jim McCarthy truly speaks to the idea of relationships. Mm-hmm. If we're speaking about a crash concept here.
I think attitude comes into play too. Sure. commitment.
But we have been friends for so long that even the book that you are kind of like consulting with, I'm co-authoring a book right now with a friend that he recommended to write it. Mr. Paul Deepan is writing it right now.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to have a copy by the end of the year. And like every chapter that's written, I run it past Jim. He's just kind of like my sounding board. It really is cool to have someone that is in your industry but outside your industry, because we relate as drummers. But you are not in the inner workings of the Nashville music business, so you can get a fresh outside perspective.
There's another analogy that I call for that. I call it being on the outside of your bottle, because you're on the inside of it, therefore you can't read its label. It's being on the inside of your picture, or being on the outside of your frame, and you're inside your own picture. I mean, something that Michael Burt talks about, who we'd love to have him on as a guest as well.
Yeah, Michael Burt, I heard all about you. He's a fantastic motivational sales, leadership training speaker and author. What did he write?
He wrote, he talked about Monster Producer. And he wrote a book called Monster Producer about how you could be a monster producer and all the different, a lot of good sales pointers, sales process things.
Yeah.
Basically his methodology of doing it, all very effective stuff. Same thing with, Cardone. We'd love to have Cardone on sometime.
And if there's anybody out there that's watching.
If Cardone or Vaynerchuk, tag him.
Our dream list is Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, and Tony Robbins. And
Ty Lopez.
Yeah, we're meeting wonderful people, of course, along the way. Of course, I have a laundry list a mile long of all the creative type people that I know here in Nashville and Los Angeles, so we could be taping this thing forever. But if you have somebody that you recommend, send them my way. Just use the hashtag #PickRich's or email me at booking@richredmond.com. Had such an amazing time here today. Before we sign off, I just want to remind you guys to check out Jim McCarthy, voiceovers.com. You'll be pleasantly surprised. What a great talent.
Thank you.
And let's see what else. Thank you once again to the Tipping Chair Tavern for sponsoring. It's the best wings on the East Coast. Check them out. And what's the city in Connecticut?
It's Southington.
Connecticut.
I know it's around Southington, and I know one of these days I will get up there, Jeff, and I want to indulge in the experience for sure, because I've been voicing it for months.
And Timmy Maya, the house band there, is incredible. They play R&B, funk, smooth jazz, fusion. You would never expect to walk into a strip mall nightclub and see a band like that.
And the thing is,
such a good time.
I suggested to him to do like an open mic night, and he's like, no.
Because you
100 times no.
Yeah.
He wants nothing but top-notch talent for free every night.
No cover charge.
So make sure you go in there, you buy stuff, beer, wine, all your favorite drinks and food and all that stuff. So make sure you get out there.
Yeah, and I did joke. I did say, Jeff, I know your wife's here. I love her. She's lovely. I just met your kids. But what's the deal with the wait staff? I mean, they were all blonde and gorgeous. So I said, I know how to get a job at the Tipping Chair Tavern. I get it. And even his wife said, well, yeah, of course.
Oh, hey, that's what works.
That's what works.
That's part of the sale.
That's sales and marketing. Look at Hooters. We've had an awesome time here. Hey, before signing off, I just also want to remind you, please check out www.drumminginthemodernworld.com. Nearly 7 hours of high-quality educational material for the drummer in you or for your favorite drummer.
And that's a funny thing that you bring that up. And I always tell you that this is the product. The next time you think about buying a set of cymbals or another snare drum or something like that, the best thing you can do if you want to be the best in your town or come to Nashville or LA or New York is to have a mentor. And that's the best thing you have in that 7 hours. You have a mentor over and over and over again for a measly, I think, top notch, $150 for the whole enchilada. The chapters are only $130. You can spend you spend $150 for an hour with you live. Mm-hmm. Or you can spend $130 and have it over and over and over again of invaluable information to help you carve out a living in the music business, no matter where you are in the country or in the world.
I'm not going to get rich on it, folks, but it is for you. It's everything I know about drumming from the last 40 years. Mm-hmm. So, once again, a lot of fun. Hope you had a great time tuning into Pick Rich's Brain, Episode 6. Episode 7 will be coming up before you know it. I'm off to Los Angeles for 3 weeks. I've got a killer music gig coming up. And, of course, I'm going to be auditioning for all sorts of cool things out there, wherever my talent agent sends me. I'm really looking forward to just power smoothies and soaking up the sun and palm trees and the Hollywood Bowl. It's Hollywood Bowl season. It's going to be so great. What do you have coming up? Anything exciting?
I think we're heading out to Charlotte in July.
Yeah, you're gonna come
this
see
weekend
our
we're gonna be doing going out this weekend, and we're probably gonna go to the Home Depot and
Bed Bath & Beyond?
yeah. We don't do Bed Bath & Beyond.
Awesome.
I'm domesticated, man. I have a beautiful wife, 3 gorgeous kids, and the mortgage.
But they did
dogs.
give you permission to go out tonight and have one more glass of wine, and I will bring my straw.
Thank you, Courtney.
Love it. Hey, everyone, thanks for tuning in to Pick Rich's Brain. We will see you soon. One more time for my guest, Jim McCarthy.
Yes.
We'll see you next time. Don't forget to rate the podcast. I want to give you value, and I need your feedback to do it. Give me 1 star. Give me 5 star. Just rate it.